evening and welcome to the Urban Debate. We put the spotlight once again on that big case that has unfolded in the last few days where a DSP of Jammu and Kashmir police was caught traveling with terrorists, helping terrorists. Yes, if you remember, DSP Davinder Singh, who was part of the anti-hijacking team at the Srinagar airport, was actually ferrying terrorists, allegedly from Srinagar to the national capital ahead of Republic Day. Now, if you remember, viewers, a few days ago, we brought out the details of his story. We brought out how there were various red flags that had been ignored in the last 20 years about this cop, and how despite those red flags, he continued to be in the Jammu and Kashmir police force, he continued to get promoted, he continued to get posted in crucial places, in critical roles. Why was that happening? It's a big question that I want to ask. Let me also tell you that the Congress party has now raised questions, and in a seeming effort to politicize the issue, this is what Rahul Gandhi said. The best way to silence terrorist DSP Davinder is to hand over the case to the NIA. NIA is headed by another Modi, YK, who investigated Gujarat riots and Haren Pandya's assassination. In YK's care, the case is as good as dead, is what Rahul Gandhi tweeted today. There was another one that was put out by the Congress party, and these are the questions that they are asking. Why are the Prime Minister, Home Minister and the National Security Advisor silent on Davinder Singh? What was his role in Pulwama attack? And how many terrorists has he helped? Now, while Congress party, but naturally, is going to politicize this, unfortunately, very conveniently forgetting that they too have been in power in the state government of Jammu and Kashmir, that they too have been in power in the central government while this man existed and was part of the system. Now, this man and his name actually cropped up after the 2001 Parliament attack, when Afzal Guru, one of India's biggest terrorists who attacked our parliament, named Davinder Singh, and nothing was done about it. So yes, we want some answers from this government. We want some answers from the investigative authorities about who and if anybody was shielding Davinder Singh for so long, or is the system really that filled with loopholes that a terrorist friend can be part of our police force in a place like Kashmir for so years, for so long, and we don't realize. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Kuldeep Khoda, former Jammu and Kashmir DGP, joins us this evening. Sudesh Verma of the BJP, Sumansi Raman, political analyst, and General Shankar Roy Chaudhary joins us this evening. And I'm going to start with General Chaudhary. Good evening to you, sir. It's a little concerning that a man who was accused of selling off the contraband of narcotics that he seized in the late 90s, and the man whose name cropped up in the Afzal Guru case and, was then pushed out of Pulwama 15 years later for other wrongdoings, continue to be in the system and continue to be in such crucial roles. How do you see this? Was there somebody who could be shielding him, or is this a systemic failure? General Chaudhary.
Look, if all these things have happened from 20 years ago, what you are saying is that J&K is out of our hands? Is that what you are trying to say? There is a system. A lot of us have been recommended for a national counter-terrorism center, a national counter-terrorism center where all these threads are gathered up around a coordinating conference and information is fed from one to the other. This has been a demand for almost 20 years from people like us who have experienced all this at first hand. So now one can reasonably ask the question, can we, for God's sake, have a national counter-terrorism center? Some states oppose it on the ground that it is contravening state rights. Well, that is there. You've got to take a view on it. But if you think that the situation has gone on far enough, my recommendation, my suggestion is let us have a national counter-terrorism center irrespective of political affiliations. That is my suggestion to this case, which seems to have gone on for all eternity. There are more than one Davinder Singhs. How do you know? You will never know unless you get a coordinating conference. We've got a good, mind you, we've got a good system. We've got the IB, we've got the RAW, we've got all these, but there's no coordination. The answer is to get coordination. A lot of us have suggested this National Counterterrorism Center. It has been opposed by several states and several politicians, depending on their political necessity. I think it's time we got over this.
But if I may play the devil's advocate here, General Chaudhary, you say there should be a National Counterterrorism Center. But would such an entity even find out, about, such a tainted cop who exists somewhere in the system, who was, accused and found, accused of extortion, accused of selling narcotics contraband, and then accused of something else that we don't even know what it was in Pulwama, and then transferred again and again and again and promoted, named by a big terrorist, and then caught with terrorists, ferrying terrorists? Would he even make it to the radar of this counterterrorism center?
Of course, it would. If the counterterrorism center, which consists of all these agencies, and I'm sure our systems are still existing, if we get over our political predilections and let us have this center, which has been a crying necessity for decades now. These cases will keep on happening. They're cropping up from time to time, from the Samba spy case, all this way up. So let us, politicians should give it a thought, since they are the people who are contributing to all this, and let us have a mechanism which will ensure that more Davinder Singhs don't crop up. There have been Davinder Singhs in the past by other names. Let us ensure that we have a National Counterterrorism Center.
Okay, point well taken. If I can go across to Mr. Kuldeep Khoda as well, former Jammu and Kashmir DGP, very well versed with that area as well. Mr. Khoda, what is your own sense? What went on? Is this a case where somebody gave him the long rope, shielded him, or did people just not realize what was going on?
It is not the question of shielding anybody. If this game of shielding was going on, then the results would not have been as good and outstanding as they are right now. And the job which they forced of performing in J&K since last 30 years, at the cost of their lives, we have lost over 5,000 security force personnel, which includes around 1,700 officers and men of J&K police. So one bad egg cannot speak for the entire force. And more important than that is that this officer has been detected and exposed by J&K police itself. The entire intelligence got developed by the local police, and the final interception and arrest was also made by J&K police.
Correct.
The other point which you are raising about how long he had been operating and why did he remain in the system so long. Regarding Afzal Guru's thing, that point came to light only in 2013 when his lawyer produced the letter of Afzal Guru about the allegation which he has made against this officer. And why that thing was not gone into in 2013, probably it came from a convict who was about to be hanged in next few days or maybe a month or so. And much credence was not given to it. But in retrospect, I think that should have been gone into thoroughly and deeply. And probably some links could have been established and found. Regarding the other point which you raised in the 90s about the contraband, that case was inquired into. Probably the evidence was not forthcoming and he got reinstated. But the other point is that with his image of getting involved in 90s in the contraband thing, whether it was established or not, he should not have been posted on sensitive postings. That's the way we function generally. And how did he get posted at the airport for the anti-hijacking duties?
Yes.
That, of course, should not have happened.
Yes.
So that point is, of course, there.
No, Mr. Khoda, not just that, if I may just come in, because the internal inquiry, from what we understand, found him selling contraband, but the move to dismiss him was stalled. And then when he was accused of extortion in Budgam, he was sent to the police lines for a bit, and then he was posted elsewhere. And then even if you keep the Afzal Guru angle aside, which by itself is a very big issue for me and should have been investigated, he was posted in Pulwama. And the authorities still won't tell us why he was transferred out of there, but he was accused of wrongdoing. And somebody thought that if he is not good enough for Pulwama, he is still safe enough to be part of the anti-hijacking unit at the Srinagar airport. Now, it baffles me that, you know, we kept putting him in sensitive zones like Pulwama and Budgam and at the airport, while there were obviously question marks.
You know, Pulwama posting which he was having had nothing to do with the operation.
Okay.
It was an internal affair. He was posted in charge of police lines and nothing beyond that. He was not a field officer in Pulwama. So linking him to Pulwama incident where the Jaish Mohammed claimed the responsibility and the suicide bomber was also, his identity was established and his links were established, to make it a political game and try to link it to some internal conspiracy rather than putting it on Pakistan. That is purely political and that is unbecoming of any person who really thinks that he is an Indian. So we should not try to go to links which are beyond, which are far-fetched. But as far as this officer is concerned, yes, I agree with you that he should not have been posted on sensitive posting. And how did he get to anti-hijacking? And maybe some other postings also in between.
Yes.
So that is, of course, not done. I will. One point I want to make it here, since this point has been raised. I was DGP for 5 years, and during those 5 years, keeping in view his image, whether the facts were established or not, that's beyond the point. I didn't post him on any sensitive posting. So that care should have been taken.
Yes.
And
okay.
probably we could have avoided lots of things.
Oh, okay. Before I go to our other two panelists, and I request them to be patient for just a little bit more, but General Chaudhary wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
What I mean to say is we are talking about Davinder Singh in Jammu and Kashmir police. I think if you look around, you will find similar cases in almost all states.
Correct.
That is the necessity why we must have a national counter-terrorism center. Davinder Singh is a case in Jammu and Kashmir. And the DGP has done, and the Jammu and Kashmir police, by the way, is doing a damn good job. I'll say that too, because I've seen that happening. But my broader implication is how many Davinder Singhs are there in other states, right down from Tamil Nadu up to J&K. Someone has to find out and coordinate. That is the necessity why we must have an overall coordination center.
Okay, I take your point. Fair enough. Let me go across to Sudesh Verma. Sudesh Verma, this is a big concern, and frankly, right now, not much has come from the authorities about this man and for how long was he under the scanner. But yes, you know, even the probing authorities have accepted that he allegedly was ferrying the same guys, the same top commanders last year, and he had kept them in his own residence. And a year later, he was brazen enough to attempt and take them to the national capital. Now, while yes, we have managed to catch him this time, somewhere somebody knew about, you know, the kind of person he was, but allowed him to continue in counterinsurgency, in anti-hijacking operations.
Yeah, whatever you're saying, Tanvi, the entire country would like to know that. There's no doubt about that. And we will all wait for the results of investigation, now which has been handed over to the NIA, which is a specialized agency to handle crimes related to terrorism. We'll definitely find out the links to various incidents also which you are referring. And, you know, we should not be talking on this issue on a day-to-day basis on what happened today, you know, because it's a very, very serious issue, as General Saab was saying, concerns the security of the country. We have to find out the most, but you must remember that, you know, we are there, the central government is there because a union territory now, policing is much better, coordination will be much better, you can be rest assured, and NIA is a very, very professional agency. Nobody should cast aspersion on this because of political reasons, because, you know, it has delivered, and various instances about which we do not even know that they have delivered. When the incidents happen, we criticize, but there are many incidents that do not happen because of these investigative agencies. So, and what General Saab said, that is for the government to consider whether NIA is enough or you need to have a counter insurgency center. And, you know, as we have in the case of CDS now, Yes, of course, that is a food for thought.
No, but is there a sense that there has to be a larger investigation, okay, that actually looks at perhaps the existence of more such cops, cops senior to Davinder Singh, who knew what was going on and let him continue, or perhaps a part of this now? I think that's what everybody is right now waiting to find out. But Sumansi Raman, like Sudesh Sharma says, is it right to politicize the issue right now, to make it about the NIA and who runs the NIA? Should we not wait for investigative agencies to give us some answers?
Look, Tanvi, first of all of us, as everybody else said on the panel, have to be very cautious about what we say on this particular issue. Now, I just want to correct the DGP on a small point. Actually, this information about this letter that was written to the lawyer by Afzal Guru was mentioned way back in 2006 or 2007 by Arundhati Roy in that book. So actually, it was not 2013 that that information became public. Information became public a good 6-7 years earlier. Now the question is, why was nothing done at that point of time, or was something done? Was he sort of put through an inquiry and a clean chit was given? Now these are things that we don't know. But clearly, the information has been in the public domain. It is not something that nobody knew about, and therefore it could have been overlooked and so on. The second point is, it is inconceivable to sort of think that a police officer at mid-level would actually consider traveling in the same vehicle along with two terrorists unless he sort of was very, very sure that he wouldn't be caught. This is the point which keeps coming back. And most importantly, we still don't know the reason why he was escorting them. Allegedly, he was escorting them to Delhi. But what was the reason that they were coming to Delhi is something that has not been known as yet. Now, the question is the apprehensions that come about. I think that I don't for a moment believe that we should, put two and two together with the question of Pulwama attack and all that. I don't agree with that at all. For the simple, there's one more reason, and that I believe is this police officer was actually transferred out from Pulwama a few months before the incident. So that's another reason why we can't jump to conclusions on that issue. But it's certainly extremely disturbing, and clearly, I mean, to the layman, over a period of 17 years or thereabouts, I think that he became a DSP, if I remember, in July 2003, and until 2020, with so many allegations preceding 2003, post 2006, and then again 2 or 3 other cases after that, and nobody knew. I mean, it seems absolutely inconceivable. Clearly, the NIA or whichever agency has to find out where this buck actually stopped. Now, to believe that this man was just one rogue cop in the entire system, it seems a little far-fetched. But of course, it's up to the investigation to find out the truth.
Yes, Mr. Sudesh Sharma, go ahead, please.
Tanvi, can I? Yeah, Tanvi, you see, we must compliment our intelligence agency. I'll tell you why. If a police officer of the rank of DSP is escorting someone in the car, that too from J&K, then you can assume that he would not be stopped. That is the way the country runs. But because we had intelligence input, the security agencies had intelligence input, his car was intercepted. It is not that it was just intercept. Normally, in normal situation, you would go. So it means that people were keeping a watch on his activity. And I'm sure that, many more links will come. But, we should be very, very careful because it concerns the security of the country, and he was posted in very sensitive areas also. How these were done is something which we must know, and, remedy must be applied so that nothing like this happens.
Okay, no, I take your point. But one aspect can be that because he's a DSP, nobody checked him. The other aspect is that, he assumed nobody is going to check him or ask him questions, and which is why he was so brazen enough. Mr. Kuldeep Khoda, what, in your experience, what just happened here? Why did he think it was okay and safe to actually be transporting these terrorists and had no fear of being caught?
Precisely for the reason that he was caught. They hypothesis to assume that he always felt that it is safe to travel like that gets busted. He was caught. So it was not safe for him to travel like that. That's why he got apprehended. So how long he has been doing it will only be known after interrogation. And to suspect that something will be hidden is not possible. So many agencies are involved in this. The NIA, the J&K police, the IB, the RAW, and I am sure because generally the Hawala racket is also gets involved in the terrorism. Most of the finances are coming through Hawala, and in this case also it is alleged that he was paid 12 lakhs for ferrying these terrorists across from the valley to Delhi. So, and that money is obviously which has come from outside, from ISI to various channels. So the Directorate of Enforcement and other revenue intelligence agencies will also come in. So the truth will come out, and it is premature to expect that at this stage everything will be known and we can draw conclusions. So, but I'm sure that truth will be known after the full investigation is complete, and corrective action will be taken, and wherever systematic changes are required, they will also be taken. And we should have full faith in NIA, as was mentioned by the other panelists. And NIA is not something creation of the present government. It was its creation is prior to the present 2014 government, and to politicize the security agencies or to align them with any political party is the last thing we should do.
Yes, okay, I take your point. We shouldn't. And not at this stage because we don't know how this case is going to go further. But before I actually take the point across about NIA to General Chaudhary, Mr. Khoda, I want to ask you this question. He allegedly took 12 lakhs from them. One of these terrorists had a reward of 20 lakhs on his head. Does this raise the questions that perhaps he was already on the payrolls and this was not the first time that he was going to be paid by the other side?
Absolutely, that's a genuine doubt. He might have got it earlier also. And there might be other reasons also why he was ferrying them. And what was the conspiracy and what was the future? Probably he might be expecting some payment in future also. So all this has to be gone into thoroughly. Nothing can be ruled out at the moment. And we can't rule out also that it was his first trip only. He could have been doing it earlier also. So, but it's not that he was caught on the first trip. That is not always possible. The intelligence gets generated in due course of time, and first few misses are always there.
Yes,
in any such operation.
I just want to highlight why this is so important. Not just because this man was part of counter-insurgency teams, counter-insurgency operations. This man was also, rewarded for one of the encounters he carried out. He was actually given a gallantry award by the Jammu and Kashmir police, which is now being taken back, of course, after this came into light. But he was known for the way he got information out of the terrorists. He was obviously awarded for this encounter that took place. And now we've come to a point where we know that last year he was helping terrorists, and this year also he helped terrorists. General Roy, if I can come back to the point that you raised, why do you believe that there is a need for another agency for counter-terrorism? Why can the NIA not do that job?
No. What I said was there has to be coordination between the NIA, the IB, the RAW, the CBI, the Department of Revenue Intelligence. They all have to be linked up together. They're all doing a good job on their own. I grant them that. The state police, the state intelligence, they're doing a good job. The point that we are lacking is coordination between these agencies, and that has been suggested by the National Counter-Terrorism Group. But states have their own reasons for not supporting this move. In the process, you have these cases coming up, and well, there it is. You got the solution, but due to local political aspirations, these are not coming through.
Local political aspirations, the states, opposing this because they want to have more power. Sumansi Raman, just like the case of NIA, where we've now seen the Chhattisgarh government go to court saying, well, NIA can't have all the overarching powers over the state police. Then won't such instances happen even more?
No. No, no. I think, Tanvi, they are two different issues. I think the issue that states have with the NIA, NIA bill act is not really related to terrorism. They are concerned about a parallel police system being set up in their state without so much as getting the consent of the state. And mind you, the modifications that were made do not relate only to terrorist offences. They also relate to everything from things like counterfeit currency, human trafficking. A whole lot of things have been added into it. So the states feel that their the police which comes under the state would be reduced to a bystander while the central authority actually did its job in the state. So I think that is the apprehension. But look, we have to look at two or three other things. The confidence that people have that the truth will be unearthed in all such cases is not really very high, in my opinion, and that's because of what we've had so far. We're almost coming up to a year since the Pulwama attacks, and so far there is no FIR. As far as I know, there has not been an FIR. There's been nobody who's been named for whatever intelligence failure that has happened. Surely the lives of 42 of our brave soldiers is at least worth a proper investigation to be done and somebody to be held accountable. Who has been held accountable for Pulwama? Take the chopper which we lost soon after the Balakot strikes. Initially it was said to be an accident, and then it took 9 months or thereabouts, well after the elections and everything was over, for the admission to be made that it was shot down by friendly fire in a ghastly mistake. Now you have to understand that none of these things give the people a great deal of confidence that the right thing will be done, irrespective of the political consequences that may emerge. And while I have the highest regard for the police forces in various states, they do come. I mean, anybody who denies that the police comes under political pressure is living in some other planet. So we have a problem. We have to find a way where investigations are done in a free and fair manner. And at this point of time, while we can only go by earlier track record, especially the track record in the last 1.5 to 2 years. And we see many such instances where there are still questions. We don't know. Nobody's been punished. And we are left asking the simple question as to, how do we believe that the truth will come out in Davinder Singh's case?
How do we believe the truth will come out in Davinder Singh's case, especially when you had the example of, especially when you had the example of Afzal Guru claiming in a letter that it was Davinder Singh who actually tasked him in getting connected with other terrorists, that it was actually Davinder Singh who tortured him, who sought money from him and then put him in touch with other terrorists, and we never followed up on it. So Dev Sharma, will it be followed up on now? There are obviously, some unanswered questions there.
First of all, Tanvi, I disagree completely with Sumant C. Raman that investigation has been lopsided or incomplete. You see, in the case of Mumbai terrorist attack, we were able to trace Ajmal Kasab's link to a village in Pakistan. We were able to prepare a dossier of most of the terrorist incidents that happened in this country. Even in the case of Pulwama, an internal inquiry by the CRPF had said that there was no intelligence failure. So please do not say it was intelligence failure. There was no actionable intelligence that time, and Jasim Mohammed was nipped. Pakistan's hand was found, and this is for public knowledge. So it's not that it's not happening. When there is an international dimension, that is why the NIA comes into force. You see, if you talk about the CBI, why do you need the CBI? CBI, when there is a crime that involves more than one state, how do you do about it? There is a federal agency that is needed, but CBI cannot interfere unless the state hands over the inquiry to the CBI. And now CBI may not be competent to handle terrorist-related case. As for example, it can handle corruption, it can handle crime.
No, but NIA can.
The NIA.
Yes.
So there is no reason.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, NIA is doing that. NIA is doing a fantastic job. Just because, the incidents don't come. Out of the 100 incidents planned, 99 are nipped in the bud. For those incidents, we hardly come to know in the media because nothing has happened, and they have been successfully able to abort that. But in one case, if something happens, of course, they have to be blamed, they have to be made more accountable. But we must appreciate that they are working under extreme, challenging atmosphere, and they're doing a fantastic job. In this case also, there are so many links we can't even imagine,
Okay.
and we should not
So
talk about those things.
I have
we
a
should not
question.
just try to put a question mark
Okay.
on these agencies' efficacy.
Okay, fair enough. I have a question that I want to take across to
I
our...
just have, Tanvi, one correction.
Yeah.
One correction, Tanvi. One
Yeah.
correction, please.
Yeah.
One correction. I think Mr. Verma said that there was no intelligence failure and so on. On 8th of February, the Jammu and Kashmir police sent an intelligence input to the CRPF, BSF, ITBP, SSB, Army, everybody about a possible IED attack, and this letter was written by the State Police Inspector General. So I don't know on what basis Mr. Verma made the statement that there was no intelligence failure.
I am talking about after that, an internal inquiry, Sumant Raman, after that by the CRPA looked into that also and said that merely saying that there would be a terrorist attack is not enough. This is not actionable intelligence. It has to be a specific intelligence. Then you can call intelligence failure. Otherwise, you can say that in the entire country some terrorist incident can happen. I'm not defending that. I'm just saying what the internal inquiry has said.
Sir, this was the information which was put out by the Jammu and Kashmir police. So you're saying there is no need for an FIR. There is nobody who is going to be held accountable for the loss
I'm not
of
saying that. I'm not saying that. It is international crime. International hand is involved. We have to deal with the UN and we have to prepare the dossier. We is already ready. Whenever we get time, we'll give the dossier to them. The entire world knows about that.
Okay, Mr. Khoda has a point. Let's listen to what our security experts have to say, because anytime such an instance happens, there is always an internal inquiry, and obviously it is in their own interest that they plug in these gaps so that we don't lose more soldiers, the next time. Mr. Khoda.
Let me put in the correct picture about this. About the Pulwama incident, the FIR was registered on the same day on which the incident occurred. I mean, my friend doesn't know that for every crime FIR is registered. It can't be that for 2 years no FIR was registered. And after that FIR also, it was after the investigation that many other arrests were made, links to Pakistan were found and established. And the identity of the suspect, of the person who caused the suicide bomb attack, that was also established. It's not that FIR was not registered. I think he's unaware of the police procedures about the criminal investigation. The second point is about the NIA. Is it not enough to deal with counter-terrorism? NIA is an investigation agency. It is not a field agency.
Okay.
It only goes for investigation and nothing else. So what General Saab has said about the National Counter-Terrorism Center, I think that is very important, because the terrorism is not a state phenomena. It has interstate dimensions and it has international dimensions. So a coordination center at the center is very important. It is unfortunate that this is getting opposed by the states for whose benefit it is meant. I recall the Chief Minister's Conference way back in 2011, which was called by the then Home Minister, where the views of all Chief Ministers were taken on the establishment of the NIA, National Investigation Agency. At that time, it was the then opposition opposed that, saying that the then opposition opposed that, and now, unfortunately, what's happening, the then party in power is opposing it now. It is, I mean, too much of politics.
There is just politics. Yes, I agree. And that aspect, unfortunately, often comes in the path of security forces being able to do...
No, one minute. Tanvi.
Yeah.
1 second. I apologize because I meant charge sheet. I think a slip of the
not
tongue.
The
I said FIR, charge sheet. The charge sheet is still not
I have a quick question before I wrap this up, and that question is to our security experts and General Shankar Roy Chaudhary. This is a slightly controversial one, but there are many who say today that, and I'm not talking about Davinder Singh's possible links to terrorists being ignored, but the fact that, there were allegations of extortion, the fact that there were allegations of other kinds of corruption were ignored and he was given the long rope. Was it done because he was known to be so good as an encounter specialist or as a man who tortured and got the information out of the terrorists? That's the question many are asking today.
Well, I will not comment specifically on Davinder Singh's case because there must be 1,000 other cases in other states, also similar cases. But one point I would like to make: intelligence starts at the Thana level. The biggest input of local intelligence has to come to the Thana level. And then if the police system is geared up in a particular state, that information flows outwards until its apex at some place reaches in the National Counterterrorism Center. But for that, the state's police must have its own mechanism, and they know that the intelligence, the first source of intelligence is the Thana, the SHO. And it travels up the chain of command of the police. And that's how intelligence works.
Okay, point taken, and I'm completely out of time, but I'm really grateful to all of our panelists who've joined us this evening and given their views. And here are some things that I want to just put out there as we wrap up this conversation. DSP Davinder Singh was arrested, and allegedly he did confess to helping these terrorists. He did say that he took 12 lakhs from them for this job. We do know that he had helped them a year ago as well. By the way, one of these terrorists, and a big name and much sought after now, was actually also a cop till 2.5 years ago. And he was a cop who went missing, and he stole guns and ammunition as he went missing. Davinder Singh, the DSP, who was part of the anti-hijacking unit at the Srinagar airport, was actually helping two terrorists, one of whom was also a former cop. Now, how is it that he has confessed to these things but not revealed more names? Are we to believe that he managed to exist in the system and go on in this system without others helping him or knowing him or shielding him? And if they were, why have they not been arrested so far? These are the questions. We hope to have the answers soon from the investigative authorities and our government. Let's not take this lightly. A terrorist friend existed within our Jammu and Kashmir police force. He got these terrorists to his house just a few kilometers away from the core command setup in Kashmir Valley. That's how close he was to the core security setup in our valley. Think about it. This has to be taken extremely seriously, and these questions must be answered. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. Well, big news from Mumbaikars. From 26th of January, from Republic Day, Mumbaikars will have the option of eating and shopping all night long, as malls and restaurants in non-residential areas will be allowed to remain open for 24 hours. Now, according to the state government, those who wish to keep their restaurants and malls open can continue to do so. Mayuresh, in fact, is joining us with more details. Mayuresh, what will be the process? Can it actually start from 26 January itself, or will they have to first get some licenses and permissions in place?
Tanvi, as an experiment, Maharashtra government is basically conducting this kind of exercise. If you remember that from past 5 to 6 years, Aditya Thackeray is basically advocating about having a 24/7 Mumbai nightlife. And now his department has taken this decision to attract the more tourists, to attract the more people to shop at night and to enjoy the Mumbai food basically at night. The decision has been basically 2 days back, a meeting was called by Aditya Thackeray regarding this. And in the meeting, they have taken this decision. It's on 26th of Jan. It will be on an experimental basis that they are starting initially in few areas of Mumbai which are non-residential. That is Marine Drive, Kulaba, the Kulaba Kala Ghoda, basically BKC area, and the areas of which are surrounded by the mill, the old mill compound. So in these areas, the hotels, the malls and the theaters will remain open 24/7. But it is not compulsory for everyone. So what Maharashtra government is basically saying that those who wish to conduct or carry the business for 24/7, they can continue it. For licenses, for permissions, so far they have not mentioned anything. But as it is an experiment or experimental basis, they are doing it. But once the cabinet gives a full nod to it, the licenses, the fees, and everything, including the paperwork, will come into place.
Well, Mayuresh, even as you were giving us the details and, listing out the areas where it could be possible, our entire team here was smiling, and I know that because obviously the late night shift here gets done at a very odd hour, and they're simply glad about the fact that now they will at least have some options to relax, to unwind, and to have some decent food. So thanks, Mayuresh, for getting us this story. Here's another big focus. An advertisement by the Kerala Tourism Department has now sparked a fresh row. Soon after, Kerala Tourism posted a tweet promoting a classic dish, ulartiyattu, a coconut gravy made with spices and beef as its main ingredient. The Vishwa Hindu Parishad hit out. And VHP said you can't promote anything by hurting religious sentiments. That millions of tourists worship cows. They also went on to say, is this tweet meant for promoting tourism or promoting beef? Isn't it hurting sentiments of crores of cow worshippers? Is this tweet generated from the pious land of Shankaracharya? And that has now triggered a big controversy, and beef is back in this controversy. So was the move by Kerala Tourism Department correct or not is simply the question that I am asking you today. That's the tweet they put out with a detailed description of this recipe. And that seemed to have irked the VHP. Which side are you on? Pick up the phone and dial that number that's flashing in on your screens right now and tell us where you stand on this debate. Let's say good evening to Rahul Ishwar, author and activist, Mr. Binoy Viswam, Member of Parliament of the Rajya Sabha, and E. Krishnadas, spokesperson for BJP from the Palakkad district, joining us this evening. And in fact, let me go across to Krishnadas first and ask him this question. Mr. Krishnadas, is this a needless controversy or is this a legitimate point that is being made in Kerala tonight?
Before I answer your question, I just want to make a point here regarding the importance of January 15th. This tweet came on the evening hours of January 15th, which happened to be the Magara Sangramam day. Not only the Magara Sangramam day, it was also Pongal on that day. Magara Sangramam is celebrated all over Kerala, especially the devotees of Sabarimala, as it is on that day that the divine Magara Jodi is seen in Sabarimala. On this auspicious day, where Pongal was also celebrated, millions of Tamilians worship cows, bulls, or whatever cattle they have. And the government of Kerala had declared a holiday in 5 districts where Tamilians, where a population of Tamil people, speaking people, are in huge number. So Kerala government itself has agreed, or it has recognized that there are lots of Tamil people who celebrate Pongal in Kerala, and 5 districts were given holiday. It is on this auspicious day that the Kerala tourism tweets regarding a recipe on beef. So the motive behind this beef tweet is very, very clear. It comes only about an hour earlier than this Magara Jodi is shown in Sabarimala.
What is the motive here? Sorry, I didn't get that.
The motive is very clear. The motive is to hurt the sentiments of the majority community here. It is to provoke them. It is because if the tourism department wanted to invite tourists in Kerala on that day, they could have promoted religious tourism. They could have said, welcome to Sabarimala, welcome to Kerala. This is a day where lakhs of people visit Sabarimala. Instead, they chose that particular day, they chose that particular time in order to provoke the majority community here, in order to hurt their religious sentiments. I don't see anything else. Bharatiya Janata Party doesn't see anything else in this tweet of the Kerala Tourism Department. The Kerala government is hell-bent on provoking the majority community here and making fun and scorn on the majority community here. It is very clear. Their acts show what their motives are.
Okay, Mr. Binoy Viswam, good evening to you. Was that the motive? I thought the dish that we were talking about is also an inherent part of the culture in Kerala.
I was listening very patiently with respect to my BJP friends. I wonder, are they so short of any issues to make noise about? I should tell the audience and to everybody concerned that this is nothing but much ado. I repeat, much ado about nothing. Because this is a absolutely unwarranted, unwanted, unnecessary dispute that they try to create now. Because they want to take the attention of the people from something much more serious. The people in this country have so many issues which are so pertinent, which affect their lives. They like unemployment, like their poverty, like the conditions of living conditions in the country, and the purchasing capacity is coming down. And I can narrate enough number of issues on which the people are concerned about.
Sure, Mr.
On
Viswam, but the
all,
specific charge here is of all the days,
please.
Mr. Viswam, why did the Kerala Tourism Department tweet this on a festival day? On Makar
I have to
Sankranti
tell
and
you one
Pongal.
thing. My respectful sister, kindly allow me to complete my words.
Okay.
If you cannot, then kindly allow me to leave the discussion. I came for a discussion, and I am very sure that a discussion should be a discussion with a content. So I can tell you, if you allow me, I can tell you.
Yes, please go ahead.
My point is that the BJP, the RSS, they want to deviate from these issues. On all these issues, they're absolute failure. And they want to get out of the isolation that they are facing today in the matters of CAA, NRC, and NPR. They're isolated. Throughout the country, they are isolated. So they want to come out with a new issue, which is a non-issue. They are telling that all the worshippers go to the Shabarimala, they celebrate the Pongal, they celebrate the Makara Sankranti after seeing the Kerala tourism Twitter or webpage. The people are not so naive. Everybody knows that the worshippers go to worship their gods. They are much more serious than the BJP. They are much more worshipful than the BJP. They are the real devotees. They are going to Shabarimala or to the temples, not in the Kerala government's tourism department's Twitter or website.
Okay.
They do it out of their faith. They don't go to the BJP agenda. They don't go to the BJP office.
Okay, all right.
Ask them that before Shabarimala, should we go to see the Kerala government tourism department website? They will never do it. And these people, these friends of the BJP, they want to create some kind of a noise because they are so exposed, so isolated. I can understand their shortage of issues.
Well,
There are hundred issues
but I
here.
will give you one thing. It's not as if you start promoting Sabarimala, other tourists can actually come there. It's you know, for far too long now we've been told repeatedly that the Sabarimala doors are only open for the devotees. So the devotees who actually work towards and fast for 40 days and do penance for 40 days and then walk all the way, only they are allowed to enter. So it's not as if the Kerala government can be boosting tourism there. But before I get a response from the BJP, Rahul Ishwar, where do you stand on this debate? Simple question is needless controversy or a needless you know, tweet on a festival day?
India is a very pluralistic nation. So pluralism and diversity implies sensitivity. See, Binoy Vishwam is a very respected intellectual, but we are ordinary people. We are devotees who may get hurt by such kind of insensitivities. Whether it is a holy fasting on Ramadan, which we all proudly take for 1 or 2 days in association with our Muslim brothers. So when on a holy fasting day, it is unfair and inappropriate for a government handle to tweet pork and a picture with it because our Muslim brothers are fasting on that particular day. In the same way, Makara Sankranti is a holy day for millions of Hindus who converge. So they could have tweeted this particular picture on another day. That's the only request we are saying. See, Article 48 also under Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Article 48 calls for prohibition of cow slaughter. We are not even going there. We are only requesting for cultural sensitivity, whether it is pork or whether it is pork, whether it is beef, whether it is any other thing. Let us be culturally sensitive because we have so many different
And you're
groups.
saying, Mr. Rahul Ishwar, that the cultural sensitivity gets heightened on special festival days, on other days it's all right?
No, please remember, it is a government-handled tweeting. So government is supposed to represent all of us. Government is supposed, people like Binoy Vishwam sir are supposed to represent all of us. I differ from his political ideology, but he is my representative too. So he should take care of my sensitivity. And cow and beef is a very sensitive issue. We all know. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of nation, said cow protection is as important as Swaraj. We all believe in cow protection. I am a Gorakshak and our great Mahatma Gandhi was a Gorakshak.
Yes.
So there might be some people who are misusing it, but at the same point of time, let us respect such cultural sensitivity. We are only requesting on this particular day, whether it is Makara Sankranti or Holy Eid or Holy Christmas, please respect those community sentiments. I believe it is not too much to ask for.
Okay, I have a viewer also on the phone line. Let's get in his view and then Mr. Binoy Vishwam can maybe respond to both. Anand is on the phone line from Delhi. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, madam. Basically, I just want to say that I have been in Kerala for 15 years. And if you go to, you can split Kerala into three parts. One is the Malabar area, and the central part, and the southern part. All three areas, except for the central part, beef is consumed enormously. So, beef means it's the cow, you can say cow, or the ox of it. But you consume goat also, you consume chicken also. Every living thing is consumed by human because let's date back to Stone Age, where we had only meat and other things.
Okay.
We used to consume only that. The culture of cultivation and other thing came later part of our evolution or generation.
Yes.
What you're saying is you should not take it. You should not do this. You should not say to any person that is, I'm a vegetarian. But I believe it is the individual capacity to accept, to take whatever he wants.
Okay,
Now,
point well made, Mr. Anand. You're a vegetarian. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but I got your point, and I just want to quickly bring in some more viewers as well. But he's a vegetarian, and he says that it's okay, it's other people's choice. Deepak is on the phone line from Bengaluru. Go ahead, please, Deepak.
Yeah, hi. Good evening to the panel. Good evening to you. I mean, I've heard, all the other panels speaking their opinion, and I've also heard the previous caller. I think my opinion is quite similar to that of the previous guy, but except for the fact that I'm a non-vegetarian. I'm a Keralite, and I love beef. I mean, nobody can dictate what should I eat, what should I not eat. I mean, just like the previous caller said, I mean, if you're worshipping cow, why not worship a goat? Why not worship fish? Why not worship... I mean, you heard of Matsya Avtara, right? So why are you eating fish then, right? I mean, why are you eating the other living things, and why just this, special status to the cow or the bull or whatever? I mean, it's just a staple diet that, people have.
Okay.
People of Kerala particularly.
A lot of people from Kerala particularly, irrespective of the religion, also is a point that's come across from both of our viewers, who called us. And Mr. Krishnadas, do you want to respond to that? Because when you claim a majority sentiments may be getting hurt, well, not all Hindus actually may be taking offense to this tweet.
No, see, the point here is that we have absolutely no objection as to what people eat. My friend Binoy Vishwam's party has all along been saying that once BJP comes to power, beef will not be given. We will not be able to eat beef. So all that has been proved wrong. People are still eating beef here. People are still happy here. There is no harm done to them. The point here is the choice of the time of the tweet. Just hours before the Makara Sankranti, just hours before the Makara Jyoti is lit, the government of Kerala Twitter handle tweets a recipe on beef. Why did you choose that day? My friend Binoyji was saying that Bharatiya Janata Party is isolated. Where is Bharatiya Janata Party isolated? We have got more than 300 seats. Kindly understand that your party has come into single digits, and it will do a world of good to do a study why you have been reduced to a single digit party after being the single largest opposition party in the 1950s. So, kindly
but I think the point he was making was that in
So,
Kerala you have run out of
Bharatiya Janata
issues.
Party has been isolated.
I think the point he was making was that in Kerala you've run out of issue, which is why you want to make an issue out of beef
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
and Sabrimala.
See, Kerala is only one among the 29 states in the Union of India, and Bharatiya Janata Party is the largest party not only in India, it is the largest party in the whole world. And where is the question of we being isolated? It is the Marxist party that is being isolated. On the Sabrimala issue, what was their stand? Now they have gone back. Now they are saying that women can't enter. Why? Who was isolated then? In the 20 Lok Sabha seats which they contested, they lost all except one. Who was isolated? Mr. Binoy Vishwam, please explain to the people who was isolated. So, the choice of the time of this tweet will show the motive of the government.
Well, if you're saying they're isolated, I don't know how this tweet is going to help them gain anything. But Mr. Vishwam, do you want to respond to that before I wrap this up?
Of course. I have respect for Mr. Krishnadas and his political views because it's a different political view which differs from my political view. And I have affection for Rahul Ishwar, who is like a little brother for me. With this affection and with this respect, I should say, BJP and RSS want to create a big controversy over nothing. It is quite clear to everybody. No believers going to Shabarimala after viewing the Kerala government's Twitter on tourism. No believer is going to any temple after seeing what the Twitter says about a special recipe or something. Something else. And they want to create a confusion of among the people in the name of the beef again. Cultural diversity is also a truth. Cultural sensitivity is also important. Cultural sensitivity demands that the food habits of the people, the food culture of the people, and their right to be equal, considered equal in a system of pluralism in the country. It guarantees them the right to eat whatever they like, whatever they like.
Right.
I asked the friends of the BJP and RSS to go to the Northeast and ask their friends in the BJP, their own friends in the BJP, about the habit of beef eating. Then they will understand what is India. Try to understand India. Try to understand the diversity of India, the greatness of India. And that greatness includes its food habits also. Many of the Indians are vegetarians. Many of them eat beef. Many of them don't eat beef. Let the BJP have the minimum courtesy to understand that it is right of the people to eat whatever they like.
But I think Mr. Krishnadas today, Mr. Vishwam, is trying to now differentiate that we're not saying whether you should eat beef or not. We're just saying don't put the picture and don't advertise and don't put out a recipe on a festival day or a Hindu festival day. Frankly, I think this debate is really outdated, and any political party that's looking to cash in over beef and whether beef is right or not and we should eat it or not eat it really needs to up its game. There are so many other important issues. People want you to focus on those. People want you to focus on economy, on jobs, on health, on education, on larger national policies, on law and order and our security. Let's talk about that. Let's not go back 5 years and again raise the issues that were already raised once, and you attempted to divide the country, you attempted to polarize the country on the basis of one food ingredient. People will now see through this. This strategy will not work one more time. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us on this conversation. I'm completely out of time on this edition of the Urban Debate. I'm going to toss it over to Avni Raja, who's joining us with the last word. And Avni, what's on focus tonight?
Well, Tanvi, the big focus tonight is how terrorist, in fact, Jalis Ansari, who's also known as Dr. Bomb, managed to jump parole. He was out on a 3-week parole. He managed to jump parole. He went missing for one whole day, for close to 24 hours. And finally, he was nabbed by the police a short while back. But the big question is the fact that a terrorist like this getting 3 weeks of parole, why should that even be allowed? Why should the rules allow for that? And obviously, we don't have the systems and the security in place to let that happen. So the big question is, should terrorists like this, or anybody convicted of heinous crimes for that matter, get this privilege? That's what we're going to be discussing. Thanks, Tanvi.